Hey, we had a first in our family this week. Jackie bought chewing tobacco. I know, it just doesn't seem to fit, does it? My youngest daughter gave me this. What's that?
How's your spitting?
Well, I was going to. So just leave it, I know, but I don't have to pay at home. So I'm going to finish this. Hey, I read in this magazine this cool thing. You put 1.5 ounces of chewing tobacco in 1 pint of ammonia, and you get the ultimate, after 5 days, stain for woodwork. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? So I go walking in a grocery store and said, I need some, and they go, what would you like? I go, I have no idea, you know? So I sent Jackie back. That way because she's an extrovert, so she can have the conversation with everybody and make this work. So I'll let you know in 5 days whether the stain's good or not. But, you know, I know. I constantly have a brain that's trying to think of new little widgets. I mean, I get sort of orgasmic when it comes to creating little different ideas. So I said, Dougie, you know, we travel all through the West hunting, right? So I got this idea here a while ago of we've got to upgrade our shower system. And so what I did is I got this instant heat, I got a RV pump, I got a battery, I've got a filter, and I got this tank. We already had a little platform because normally, you know, people just wrap like a tarp. But Bragg doesn't like it when the tarp, you know, in the wind whips it in. He gets cold. So we had to upgrade. So this thing now will like blow paint off the side of the house. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Blessed Be Your Name, that song. I remember the first time I heard that song. He gives and takes away. As a cornerstone, sitting next to this gal. That we just did the meet and greet. And so I got to know her, and so what brings you here? And she said, well, it's my very first Sunday back. I said, oh, you've been on vacation? She goes, no, I've lost my husband 6 weeks ago. I said, wow. So we chatted a little bit, we prayed together, and then they played this song. And you talk about a tangible level. And this glorious lady sang it from someplace down here. It was amazing. I felt like I was in the presence of someone way off the chart to be able to say, He gives and takes away, bless His holy name. I'm way too Norwegian to do this. The only time we get real sentimental like this is when we're told that we can't burn any more villages down. Or that the Vikings are going to the Super Bowl because we know how that's going to finish. Will you pray with me? You know why we're here. Spirit of the living God, your life is mine, and my life is yours. And in these few moments that we linger, I pray that there will be intimacy of oneness, where I am lost and caught up in the sacred life of the Trinity. Jesus, blessed friend that you are, release eyes to see and ears to hear the incredibly passionate, glorious love that you've always had for us. In the words of Jason Upton, give us the power to let go of right thinking, to hear from you, not between our ears, but deep from our knower. We pray in your name, Jesus. Redemption. Recognizing that something isn't what it once was, and someone is not what we once were. That's kind of our story, isn't it? You and I, if we're married, we fell in love. And then as the months or weeks started to kick on, all of a sudden the intensity of that love can take some ups and downs. And because what we begin to find out is she, he, are not really who I thought they were. What we begin to feel and become aware of is these two delusional, crazy guys, myself and Jacqueline, thought the other person had everything that my demands, my needs, my wants, my wishes, my longings were planning on. And I can't make my life work in the radiant, full way that I want it to work. So I was betting on the fact that I made the right choice, and you were too. Now all of a sudden now we start bumping into this entitlement piece. What do you do? How dark does it get? We become demanding, crazy, delusional demands of one another. And this is not irrational thinking. This is what the fallen DNA is like for each and every one of us. And maybe your character defects aren't as dark or as large as mine. Mine are significant. But here's the beauty of having lots of character defects. The grace and the humility of God is always very, very close to you and available to you. When you run from reality, what do you embrace? Craziness. You will never feel the deep, incredible acceptance from God until you're sitting in your ashes and you begin to feel for the beauty instead of the yes but. I had this picture early this morning sitting in the ashes with Jesus. And when you're in the presence of an individual who is incredibly glorious, and you realize what he's done in the humility of setting everything in his godness aside, and all that comes with that, to come to you and I. You're sitting there in the place you don't show well. And he's saying, I love you, I died for you, I care for you, I have plans, I have ideas, I have incredible, cool stuff. And I'm fiddling in the ashes, picking up cinders, going, yeah, but what about this God? What about this? It's all of my ugly. And he keeps smacking my hand. No, no, no. And it spools up. In my darkness, I find myself wanting to just feature how ugly I am. It's almost as if to say, it can't cover this. And I feel like a child that's almost out of control, and I feel his arms wrap around me and go, let it go. Let it go. As long as your life is about you, you can't get there. You can't get there. And that's what he kept saying, Jeff, you arrogant little whatever. It's not up. Dare we have the courage to believe that? You know, in courtship, we aggrandize what we think we're looking at. The aggrandizing or the aggrandizement, it's part of the fallen property. When God held everything in orbit, and I looked at an individual, I wouldn't be aggrandizing them. I would be looking at the vast potential in what they were. I would see what God would see. But it wouldn't be about my needs. It would be about, wow, do you know this to be about you? But when I'm God in my fallen nature, I look to see what I perceive is going to be there. Why? Because dang it, it better be there because this is what I'm counting on. This is one of the liabilities in the dating relationship. It's not a bad thing. You just have to factor this in. It's why we need wing buddies or buddiettes alongside of us that it's like, is there an extra set of eyes that kind of norms what I think I'm looking at, if you would? We said most conflict stems from our idealism. Again, this is a fallen phenomenon or property within us. In our idealism or our idealistic sense, we know, we want, we believe. But as long as my life is calling the shots, as long as my life is governing things, it's distorted. And I am a fallen God, if you would, little g. And that's where the problem comes in. Whereas, if God is governing and God is ordaining and his life, the life of the our life, our world, when God opens your eyes to see, and you see things, it's like, wow, that's not idealism. But when God is animating something, there is never this energy of I'm reaching out to get. I'm reaching out to give. I'm reaching out to cultivate. I'm expending my life energy so whatever I'm applying my life energy to gets bigger, gets larger. That's my pleasure. That's my joy. That's my mission. That's my calling. And in God's design, when we learn to give with abandonment into our relationships, try walking away where something doesn't come back to you. It's the casting of the bread on the waters. See, if I give and I'm not virtuous, in God's design, the Trinity lived to love one another. The Trinity lived to bless one another. The Trinity were just so aroused with, how do I add value to what you're interested in? They didn't care what's in it for me. It's like, pour yourself out if you can. Jesus is living water, right? It's the same thing. He gives us these pictures of, this is how these dynamics work. You pour yourself out virtuously, not because you have to. If you pour yourself out out of responsibility because it's a good thing, it's the right thing, you have to, you need to, you got to, etc., that's the legal tree. You get no credit for that. Zero. And as long as you're eating from the legal tree, you will never sense the presence of the Trinity. Not because they're going, haram, we don't want to do this. It is the mercy of God that will not join you at that legal tree. Because the mercy of God is such that if you want to be eaten from this delusional place, God's mercy is to pull back, to hold back, to leave you with the sense of barrenness. Hoping we come out of our delusion and say, is there another option here? If we want our lives to change, each and every day, you have to be intentional. Life is not a spectator sport. You can't hope something gets better. Hopefully this isn't offensive. General Schwarzkopf said, hope is a piss poor substitute for a great game plan. You see, we have to have something more than just hope. God's desire, God's design is you are actively engaged in living your life forward, whatever that might be. If you're living your life, you're picking it up and living it forward with initiative, knowing you're feeling for the dimensions and the life and the character and the personality of our triune God, then God can pull the levers wide open. He can download an abundant amount. But the moment I start looking at me thinking it's about me in some way, shape, or form, then the levers have to push back. Because as soon as I become insecure and stop living my life, my insecurity is about something's not right, something's not good. That's the legal tree. God's not going to join you there. He is a tree of life. He is the God who made 7,000 shades of green on that hillside. Well, not here in California, 7,000 shades of brown. But you get the point. And so the nuances of your life, He would delight in you living. You like to write poetry? Write poetry. Write poetry. Jeremiah says the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. It's messed up. No relationship will flourish unless hearts are deeply connected from levels of trust and abandonment. If there isn't high levels of trust, and in the trust, abandonment one into each other, then relationships can't flourish. And so here we have us, as earthlings, running around these fallen, delusional gods, wanting what we want because of the lust of our heart. And what we want is good things. Who doesn't think that loving and being in a loving relationship isn't a good thing? But how do we go about the business of it when the heart's deceitful and desperately wicked, and God is saying, yeah, but if you're going to do life and love, the heart has to be the cornerstone. See, it leaves us in an incredible spot. Because delusionally, we're either going to work really, really hard, try really, really hard. It's going to get you nowhere. The harder you try, the more miserable you become, and the more toxic you become to those that because you're trying out of impotency. But if, on the other hand, we're trying out of the abundant character of our triune God, in other words, I'm relaxing into and feeling for. When I don't know, and I lean back to feel for the Father or the Son or the Spirit going, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I feel them push into me going, got an idea if you want to know. So that's the abundant nature of God. He's always wanted to bless us. He's never left us. Nothing has changed for God. We believe things have changed for God because of our distortions and what we project upon God. God is who God is. He is a passionate pursuer of you and your life, where He wants to see you have a ball living your life, not a barren life. So where do we begin? Solomon says, God has made everything beautiful in His own time. He's planted eternity in the human heart. One of the things that makes sense to me is begin with the end in mind. And that's not unique, is it? Right? So if we begin with the end in mind and eternity is implanted in our heart, we need to begin to visualize perhaps how you might be, what you might look like in all of eternity. Do you ever ask the Father to give you a glimpse of that? Ever? How long do you think McBride's hair is going to be? Sorry. I think we're absolutely foolish if we don't play with the Trinity. Father, you see me in my actuality. Why in the world do I care about my potential? You know who I am now, not who I will be. Eternity is here. It is now. This is what we're extending. And God forbid that we get confused that we're supposed to be somehow church people or religious people or good people. That is an abomination to the cross and the work of my brother and my friend, Jesus. Don't do it. Don't do it. When He said, look, I want you to have your life. And I want you to dare to have courage to pick up your life and live it. That's the longing of the Trinity. Do you think they would ever get that we didn't love them really? Do you think that just one would just throw themselves into our life and let us love and bless and expand creativity and knowledge and beauty and whatever is meaningful and precious to them? We need to ask ourselves the question, what would I do if fear played no role in my life today? Every day, intentionally, get up in the morning. What would I do if fear played no role in my life today? Secondly, at your memorial service, what do you want said about you? How you lived, how you related, how you cared, what you created, what mattered to you. You see, if we look at eternity, we dare to ask the Trinity to show us a bit of who we are and start living in that. If we dare to say, well, fear doesn't have to play a role because I can't do anything so stupid that the beauty of God can't bring beauty out of it. What can you do by way of a mistake that God can't show you how I can turn this into a Mona Lisa? And I defy you to pick up your life and live it with virtuous abandonment. You will not believe the adventure that God takes you on. You won't. You will see things, create things, be a part of things way beyond anything you've ever contemplated. Every client that walks through my door, I simply see as a sawdust pile. And I remember back home in Minnesota, the county fairs and all that. As a little kid, we would line up. And all the volunteer firemen had put together this big sawdust pile, and they had buried coins in there. And it's like, we knew I was going to be filthy rich by the time this was over, right? So one time, Dad said it was okay to hit a girl. She's getting your way of the quarter, get it. The excitement. I mean, you know how little kids, when they get excited, they quiver? They get like this. That's what happens for me. When someone walks through the door, it's, God, give me eyes to see, Do they know the treasures buried within? What God do you know about them? They don't know about them. This is how God looks at us. You're a sawdust pile with immense treasures buried within. Or, what was it in Matthew? There's this pearl, a great price, in a field. God's saying the same thing. Do you feel for the energy of discovery? The price of imposing my perceptions onto reality is the loss of discovery and all of the immense joys and rewards that go with it. See, when I approach you with I know, there's no discovery. Think how boring I know is versus jumping into a sawdust pile. I am not mechanically inclined. Very, very low. So on the shower I told you about, I have this switch. It's easy enough, right? Positive on one side, negative on the other side. Well, I went through 5 switches and a bunch of wire. And switches are cheap. They're like 87 cents. But when you spend $20 gas going back and forth and working supply, the price goes up. And last time I went back, I said, don't you think maybe you should buy a few extra? And I'm sitting there going, this isn't rocket science. I mean, I should be able to get this. But, I was approaching it with, no, I know a positive on one side and negative on the other side, right? That's how it works. Until all of a sudden, in the wee hours of the morning, it's like, oh, it's a switch. No, positive on one side, out the other side, negative around. Now, granted, I had done a half a dozen switches, and on one of these came, because my grandson and I were building this thing. So on this one, the last one where it goes poof, and there's this stinky, stinky smoke. And Kate looks at me and goes, gee, that's a lot of smoke. And I said, yeah, I don't know, buddy, where the battery's blowing up. Maybe we should back on the barn. So, and his mom and Jackie and Violet were playing in the sandbox right around the corner, and it's like, what's that smell? He blew something up. But there was the aha there. And in my foolishness, I even tried changing all kinds of different switches. Well, if these switches don't work, let's try some other switch. Replicating the same thing, right? And then when the aha was there, that spirit of discovery, it was like a little kid all of a sudden bringing home this precious thing to mom or dad with, that's so cool. When I threw that switch on and there was no smoke and all of a sudden the water, it's like, whoa, yeah, I am an electrician. Crazy. So why would we not train with one another, whether we're married or the relationship we share, whether it's friendships or whether it's work? Why would we not train to let go of what you think you know? Because how many wires and switches are you frying in those relationships? And what joy are you missing out on? The discovery piece. You can live with someone for 30, 40 years. You think you really know them? They're different than they were yesterday. It's a constant process of discovery. Don't put so much energy in getting things together as in finding, if you would. It is the desire of God that we begin to understand that the Father's commitment to us is to adorn you with majestic beauty. That's the Father's job. His boy has made a way available to us. The Father now steps into, I will assume responsibility to adorn this bride in a way that's going to blow my boy's mind. Because they live with that energy. What you did was good, but watch what I'm going to do for you. It's that profound, deep energy that they have. The enemy wants us to see God out of his righteous nature rather than his relational nature and knowing God in that. Always feel for the relational piece of God. Doug has said to us a couple of years ago and in past sessions as well that never was it ever God's desire that we would live in an autonomous fashion away from God. Neither should we live for God. We are to live with and from God. It's the Maximus the Confessor said, we are created by grace to be everything that God is by nature. Now, if you Google Maximus, this guy really believed this. Because he became a real pain in the side to some individuals. And so they decided to cut his tongue out to keep from speaking this message. So he began to write. But you know what they did next? They cut his arms off. Because he would not recant this. If you're giving up arms and a tongue, I think he believes this. What is it that you believe to that degree? How deep? Because we talk all kinds of nice Christianese. But what would you give up? Is it just an empty belief, or does it go this deep? Virtue is simply living from the character of the Trinity. And anytime you do or say or participate in some way, ask yourself what's animating that effort. If it's not from virtue, I mean, I'm staying in my marriage because God hates divorce. You don't get any points for that. You get 0 points unless it's from virtue. I get to stay here. Because in this place, void as it may be, the very character, the very being of the triune God is extending themselves to me to know them in some unique way, which would be far greater than whatever I would have thought I would experience in my marital relationship. Last week I said to you, I want you to take some time and write down everything that you know that kind of describes your partner. That was part A. Part B is, now think of your relationship as a map, and how you guys live, what you do, how you spend your time, and look at how you describe your spouse and see how much of that actually shows up on your relational map, or not. It will give you an idea of, is there sort of an ebb and flow and some sort of equal balance here or not? What matters to us deeply, we need to be intentionally with making certain that it shows up in the life that we're living together. The redemptive path begins with seeing a need to be redeemed. And there was that moment in glory where the Trinity looked at each other. And Jesus, with a wink in his eye, said, I think it's time for me to become an alien. In that moment when Jesus leaves, he doesn't leave. When Christ comes to earth, they come to earth. Don't we typically think that, oh, Jesus left the Father in the Spirit and all of a sudden he's here by himself? Please understand that the Trinity is never separate from one another. Never. Even in that blessed passage there on the cross where Christ cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's not what we think. If I start Mary and a little, you would finish it. You would know the song. And it was a Jewish custom that if someone started a song and then continue with it, go to Psalm 22, where Jesus, in his incredible display of love, mercy, and grace, having been beaten to a pulp, bandaged by all, nevertheless, in mercy, in compassion, in the deep glory of his nature, begins to sing Psalm 22. And in Psalm 22, you find this flow where perspective shifts, and all of a sudden there's this deep, deep sense of abandonment. And then there is this kind of coming to grips with self and looking back to God, and then there's hope, and it collapses again. And then it rolls in Psalm 23, where I will go to the valley of shadow of death. I will die in the presence of my enemies. And David then pushes in with surely, and it's Christ saying to those that are listening, surely goodness and mercy will hunt you down. It's got your name, it's got your address. We go into Psalm 24. And it's a psalm of praise. It says, lift up your heads, O King, for the King of Kings. This is what he's done for us. The immense humility It's the total identification with us. It's Philippians 2. When Christ ascends into glory, do you stop to realize the reason we saw him and we recognized him? The humility of Christ. He ascends into glory. He's seated at the right hand of his Father as Jesus, the alien who's come back. Jesus, the human being who is fully God and fully divine in his humanity. He has planted us there. This is our home. When he said to the disciples, you've got to let go of your perceptions. How do you say that? Drink my flesh, my blood, eat my flesh. Let go of your right thinking. Let go of your right thinking. How often do we need to do this? Every time you get together. Francis is saying this is pretty important. Let go of what you think you know. Let go of what you think is your life, the blood. Let go of what is substantial to you. Why? Because they are extending the fullness of their life to us. I've said to you that faith is discovery. And what we're discovering is that the boundless blessings that are ours are now in the relationship with the Trinity. Discovering my life being drawn up into the life of the Trinity. This is what's available to us. Phil Wickham in his song Beautiful says, I see your face in every sunrise. The colors of the morning are inside your eyes. The world awakens in the light of day. I look up to the sky and say, you are beautiful. I see your power in the moonlit night, when planets are in motion and galaxies bright. We are amazed in the light of the stars. It's all proclaiming who you are. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. I see you hanging on a tree. You bled, and then you died, and then you rose again for me. Now you're seating on the heavenly throne. Soon we'll be coming home. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. When we arrive at eternity's shores, where death is just a memory and tears are no more, we'll enter in as the wedding bells ring. Your bride will come together, and we will sing, you are beautiful. My name is Jeff Klippenes, and I am an adopted son of the Most High. I am the apple of my Father's eye and the delight of the Holy Spirit. And you are too. And I win the gracious gift of the Trinity and go into a wedding. And John says, let us rejoice and be glad and give glory to him, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his bride has made himself ready. Blessed are those that are invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he who sits on the throne said, behold, I am making all things new. And if you'll indulge me, this is not scripture, this is just my crazy way of thinking. I see this incredible thing. These massive doors. And the Father and the Holy Spirit, behind them are us, this heavenly throne. And there's an incredible excitement because we know this is the wedding. We know we're going to see our glorious Lord. And we hear this immense amount of noise on the other side of these doors. And it's those that have preceded us. Your dad, your mom, your brothers, your sisters, your sons, your daughters, whoever. And the animating excitement. And the Father is just bursting with a sense of, I can't wait to show my boy these kids. The doors open wide. And we walk in and there is this euphoric rush. And before us is the Lamb of God, pierced, who looks at us with nothing but warmth and acceptance. And we rush forward. And the Trinity join one another and look into our eyes with warmth, with care, with compassion. And then the Father begins to weep. And we weep. And we weep for 1,000 years. And he takes a breath. And then he begins to laugh from his gut. This deep laughter. And we laugh with him for 500 years. And then he breathes. final statement, the father that looks into the corner of the room and says, Mr. McBride, it's time to pour the wine.